Deroy Cruz here again, your life applications officer. Here I am. I don't know I don't know if I'll say this. If anyone thinks that they're going to talk to an atheist and talk through their pickle, and I'm sure there's a lot of atheists that look at my videos and look at the videos of a lot of Christians on YouTube. And just for me to try and defend the faith to an atheist, that exposes me. Just for me to even pay you any attention whatsoever. For me to do a video in response to atheism, this is why my pastor doesn't do it. This is why a lot of friends of mine, like the guy I had with me yesterday that we did a video here together, he told me before the video started, he said, well, this is what atheist is, that's it, that settles it. He felt that, what do we need to do a video on atheism for? Who are these people? Who are they that we need? You know, they're nothing to us. To a lot of Christians, they're just people who are lost. But the way I look at it, and I guess the reason why I'm doing these videos is for the same reason why there's people on YouTube defending Donald Trump. He already won. The man already won. And now he's in the hot seat with all the stuff that he has to prove that he said he would do. He has to prove that he'll do it. And not only that, but there's all these people that hate the man, and no matter what he does right, they're trying to take him down. It doesn't matter how right he is or how he busted and broke through their little lies and their little exaggerations. They said things, they assumed things, and they assumed an ass out of themselves. Okay? But yet, no apology. They're still trying to take the man down, even though they end up being, what's the atheist's favorite word? Fallacy. Okay, and you got all these people like the Next News Network and different people. I can name names after names of people that are defending Donald Trump. And then you got more people that are hating Donald Trump. And it seems like in America today, we have more haters than respecters. Now, when you respect somebody, that doesn't mean that you agree with them because you respect them. And my problem, first of all, the reason why I'm making these videos, I make videos on whatever's on my mind at the time. And atheism is on my mind because it is the fastest growing religion, according to YouTube. Now, I gotta admit, first of all, here in Pittsburgh, in the state of Pennsylvania, atheism isn't very popular. Okay? And when we do come across atheists, they're really nasty and rude, okay? And there's like one out of every maybe 200 people that might be an atheist, okay? That I might see on the street every day, okay? But it is still the growing population, and when I see shows like the Atheist Experience, waiting for Christians to call in so that they can show them like, nope, you still don't get to be a Christian. And tonight, this show was filmed in, I think, November of 2017 that Matt Dillahunty. This woman called the show, and she was actually a blogger, and she was blogging back and forth with Dillahunty, having arguments over atheism, and she said some things about Matt, exposing Matt, and then Matt on his show right in front of his followers tried to deny it all. Okay? And so after the woman decided that, okay, all right, I don't understand what I did wrong, Matt. I don't understand why I need to apologize, but okay, I apologize. I'll rephrase what I said. Now, can we help you, ma'am? Now, what would you like to talk to us about today? First of all, I don't understand why Christians are calling the Atheist Experience unless they aren't really Christians. They're just using a religious argument. Let me repeat. I don't understand why Christians are calling the Atheist Experience unless they're not Christians. They're just using religious arguments because they're theists. There's a difference between a theist and a Christian. I'm a born-again Christian. It's not good enough to me to believe in God. Without this, and without understanding this in context, believing in God doesn't mean anything, because I agree with you, Matt. Believing in God, what God? There's hundreds of gods. And there's so many of them that duplicate this story of the crucifixion and the son, God having a son and all this stuff. I get that. I see that. I've caught some of this stuff. I remember years ago in my family training hour classes at church when I was a teenager. Our family training hour instructor showing us stuff that was going on in the world around us and how people were making counterfeits about God. Different religions were coming up with stories, and we were debunking them, But it's never good enough for an atheist, no matter what argument you give. And Matt Dillahunty tonight just showed why you have to really, really know in your spirit, you have to really be called to speak to these people. It's best to ignore them. And when you keep calling the Atheist Experience and you let Matt shut you down and make you rephrase everything that you say to suit him, you can't phrase it the way you say it in church. You have to phrase it the way Matt wants you to say it, so that Matt can get his point across, because he can't get his point across based on your foundation of faith. It has to be secular. It has to be non-Christian so that Matt can get his point across, because if it's just secular logic and if it's just secular understanding and secular, then then it makes sense to him, and he can hammer you with it. You remember that movie? Not movie, show with Sanford and Sons, where the one guy was blind, and he would get in a fight with somebody, and he would say, "What side are you gonna hit me on?" "Okay, hit me on the left side, and let me know when you're going. Let me know when it's coming. Are you ready?" And you was having mercy on him because he was blind, so you would swing, and he would knock you out, and then you come back the next day. "What side? Hit me on the right side this time." You know what I'm saying? I mean, it had to be his way. Why? Because he was blind. He could not see except, unless you put it a certain way, he couldn't perform. It's just sad to me. It really is. I don't know what to title this video. But this woman got on the show, Matt Dillahunty, Atheist Experience. She got on the show. And she seemed like she knew what she was talking about. She wasn't, and him and her even admitted it to each other that she was one of the better callers. She said to Matt, she says, "Why are only the stupid callers calling in?" And when she when she quoted the first scripture in the New Testament around the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus, you could see the fear in Matt's face. So what did Matt do? He said, "Do you understand what a fallacious argument is?" She said, "Matt, don't flip this around. You asked me what I wanted today. I'm asking the question. You're going to ask me a question with a question?" She said, "Matt, I'm talking about the fact that the disciples were in hiding until they proved that Jesus had walked out of the tomb. And this is documented by many, 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 many people." Matt called it a fallacious argument. This is where I give up. Not that this is why I don't argue with atheists based on my Bible. I argue with atheists based on the attributes of their cult. Because you have a show. Matt is a prime example of proof that this is a cult. You have a show where you're not looking for atheists to call in. You're looking for Christians to call in so you can smack the Christian out of them. You're not going to smack the Christian out of me. Because if I call your show, I will hang up on you first. When I say, "Well, this is what I believe," and you say, "Hold up, but let me ask you," okay, click. You didn't even let me get halfway through before I asked. You didn't even let me finish asking my question first. You want to play a game of questions? Let me ask my question. You want to ask me 4 questions? Let me ask 4 questions. You don't like my answers. Why do I have to like yours? What makes your answer so correct? The evidence is against black people that over half of us are thugs. Would it be a fallacious argument if we were to say that African Americans are not thugs by nature? Would it be a fallacious argument if we said that white people are not racist by nature? That if we were to really dig in deep about the difference between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, and how things have changed over the years for the Republicans, and things changed over the years for the Democrats, and some of the people that we think got our back don't have our back. They're the actual racists, and the people that we think are racist are actually just the ones that want us to continue on strengthening our cultures. There's a lot of evil people out there that think that everything's a fallacious argument except for what they agree with, except for what they will accept. There's people I can never ever say anything about that I have any licensing, that I got any training in anything, that I even graduated from high school. They look down their nose at me so much because of their disapproving of black folks, their discrediting of black folks, that for me to say that I own a gun is terrifying to them. Dude, I'm Act 235. I have a right not only to own a gun, but I have a right to be employed based on the fact that I own a gun. And I have been employed on the fact that I own a gun. But because I'm black, the fact that I own a gun, all you gotta do is watch the news. All you gotta do is read the papers. You sure you want a black man owning a gun? I remember the first guy I ever told to on a job, and it was a dumb argument, but I says, dude, I know how to shoot a gun. I own a gun. He said, D-Roy, and he wasn't joking when he said it. He got very angry with me. He said, D-Roy, if you own a gun, you stole it. And you know you did. Why don't you stop lying? Stop acting like you're something that you're not. That's what he told me. Oh, I wasn't going to let him ride me to work anymore. He was dead serious. I said, you're joking, right? He said, D-Roy, if you own a gun, you stole it. Stop trying to be something you're not. I don't believe that you have any training on how to shoot a gun. Neither are you legally carrying a gun. Then you want me to believe that when this woman calls the atheist experience, that Matt isn't so wrapped up in his hatred for Christians, in his hatred for the Bible, his hatred for his own spirit, because he has a spirit of prejudice against Christians. I won't call it racism, but it is prejudice against Christians. And this is the thing that atheists have towards Christians, why we can't argue with them. All we can do is make sure there are laws to protect our Christian rights. Because atheists feel the same way about Christians that racist white people feel about blacks, or racist blacks feel about whites. Racist blacks feel that, oh, white people owe them some kind of respect. They walk in the room, all the white folks should stand up. They walk into the room, all the white folks should be ready to give something away free. Racist white folks think that, oh, no matter what you do, it doesn't matter that you made it up here with us and you got this big time job up here with us and you got a paper that clearly says that you were trained in this field and trained to do this job. You got a license. You are certified. You have a degree. Does not matter. You're still a nigger. And after I go through this every day of my life, I'm sick and tired of blacks, I'm sick and tired of whites, I'm sick and tired of Democrats, okay? I'm sick and tired of people who make excuses for dumb reasoning and dumb choices. And then you think that you're just going to call something a fallacious argument because you don't believe it, or it's not what you would say or what you would do if you were in her shoes, Matt. This is where I give up. And this is why I don't care about my beliefs versus anybody else's belief, because my beliefs are so obvious to me that it's like the color of my skin. It's my culture. It's my life. Make a rapist out of me. Make the worst sinner out of me if you think you can. Go on and go into the Bible and show me some things that you don't approve of, and because I believe the Bible, that makes me some kind of bad person, or that makes me some kind of sick puppy, which is another thing Matt just did with this woman. He started trying to use the example of people in mental institutions. We could do the same thing to you, atheists. We could do the same thing to you. I think anybody that believes that they came from an ape, out of all the things that evolution teaches you, when you say we came from apes, you need to be able to prove that mess every time it comes out of your mouth. You should be able to have an ape at your house that will come over to my house with you to prove that apes and humans are related. Because if it's wrong for us to believe that Jesus left the tomb a long time ago and it ain't happening now, then it's wrong for us also to believe that humans evolved from apes. But it's not happening now. Okay? There was a big bang, but it's not happening now. Oh, you call it the ancient book. You call it fairy tales, and you call it, because this stuff happened way back then, but it's not happening now. What about your book? What about your book? Okay, and then not only that, a lot of these people that write the books, even to this day, clearly, evidently, have sick minds. You go to Hollywood, for example, some of the people that all they know how to write is scary movies, and you listen to them talk, they really believe in what they're putting in the movies. They don't just see it as, you're looking at it as science fiction, they're looking at it as non-fiction. They think they've gone to a place where you'll never go, or that you don't have the guts to go. Look at Stephen King. He's a weird one. But anyway, I could give up and not talk about this because I'm so bored. And I'm so, it's going back to the respect issue. Just because you don't agree with someone, this is what debunks atheists. This is what debunks their agenda. just because you disapprove of something. It'd be different if we're talking about a child molester that is clearly a child molester, and he's walking the streets, and he's claiming that God is keeping him out of jail. That's why they haven't put him in jail yet. Okay? And he's going around claiming that God exists. That's why I was able to molest this child and I never went to jail for it. I don't see anybody saying that. But if I was to see somebody do some crazy stuff like that, I'd probably have to say, Lord, forgive me, because I would be the superhero that would shoot the guy and put him out of his misery. Well, there goes that Act 235 out the window. Now I'm just a Christian that failed. Again, just another failure of the church. See why we don't believe in Christians? See why we don't believe in God? Another Christian shot another Christian. It was a religious war. Just because you don't agree with something doesn't mean you have to be so damn disrespectful. Matt has a show that's all about people calling in. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I agree with you. Why? The lady said it. She said, your show, Matt, why is it always the dumb ones that call into your show? Why are they so dumb? She's right. But then, now Matt, and then I realized this woman asked a question that you can't cover that up, Matt. Why don't you just accept, why don't you just say, this is where they become cultic and very, very, very deceptive. Why don't you just say, well, I still don't believe it. And that's it. But to say that this woman has a fallacious argument when it is clearly biblical and it is clearly historical. What happened? Oh, well, that's a fallacious argument. Do you believe in fallacious arguments? She should have said no. Now, can we move on? Then Matt would have said, wait a minute, you're telling me that that's not a fallacious argument? Whoa, hold up. You're telling me that that's not a fallacious argument? Then he would have started pounding on the table again. We don't need your help. And this is your biggest fear. I'm going to die after spending my life believing in God. I'm going to die after spending years and years and years of my life not having any supposedly adoration or, super respect for evolution. I'm going to live my life and I'm going to die. Maybe a good old age or maybe sooner. And I've never, ever been able to agree with atheism. I've never raped anybody. I never had slaves. I never molested any little boys. I never, shot anybody in the name of Jesus or done anything crazy. I'm just a guy who happens to be Christian. And I'm going to die with a big smile on my face. And there is no proof, no evidence that I did not see my Savior face to face. There is no proof that anyone else that died next to me, right around the time that I died, or right before I died, or right after I died, there's no proof, no evidence whether or not they saw the Lord, whether or not they saw the fires of hell, whether or not they met God face to face and faced judgment. I'm not trying to scare you. All I'm saying is, when I die, evolution is not going to do a damn thing for me. There's no ape that's going to make me live longer. There is no human discovery, no atheist discovery, no scientific discovery. You know, another 10 years from now, or another 20 years or 30 years from now when I die, that's going to save me. Bible says his days shall be 120 years. The closest thing. Now, most people tell me that doesn't mean like years, but ever since the fall, ever since, the Tower of Babel, he said their days shall be 120 years. Nobody lives. I have not seen anyone live past 136. The oldest woman I've seen was an old lady. Just a few years ago, she broke a record of 136, I believe. We're 136, I believe. I don't believe I've ever seen anyone live any older than that. But if they did, does that prove atheism to be true? Does that prove evolution to be true? Does that prove science has done anything that disproves God? I don't think so. I don't think so. You say, well, God doesn't need to be disproved. He needs to be disproved when you won't leave him alone. When you feel that people need to call into the atheist experience, like this lady said, okay, and explain to them evidence for your God. Well, maybe I don't want to call the atheist experience and explain the evidence for my God, because it's over their head and it's none of their business and it's not their problem. And tonight, I realized that Matt Dillahunty, just like many other atheists, he's not going to let you have a logical, righteous answer. Because the minute you say something that makes him think, he's going to cut you off. Oh, that's a fallacious argument. Do you believe that that is a fallacious argument? No, I don't believe that's a fallacious argument, Matt. It's what we believe. I think the Big Bang is a fallacious argument. I think people evolving from apes is a fallacious argument. I think elephants and pine trees is a fallacious argument. I think morality being subjective is a fallacious argument. I think that every religion is the same is a fallacious argument. I think that every religion is just the aftermath of a fairy tale. And they got it or copied it from somebody else is a fallacious argument. That's what I believe. But believing in God, if believing in God helps you in any way, go ahead and keep doing it. But the minute that you use God to do something stupid, that's when, Lord, forgive me if I show you that God ain't going to have any mercy on you when I take you out of here. I'm just saying that not to practice violence, but to show how I feel about that. He's not. When they put this man behind bars and they give him the electric chair or whatever, no one cares that he was a Christian. The Christians don't care that he was a Christian. The atheists don't care that he was a Christian. The Muslims, Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons, the Scientologists, Christian scientists, whoever. Nobody cared that this guy claimed to be a Christian when he ends up in jail for an honest crime that he honestly committed. But to an atheist, just being a Christian is an honest crime. You honestly are a fallacy and you need to be stopped. Just by mentioning the name of Jesus and saying that he's God and that you need to be saved, you need to be born again so that you can see him and live in everlasting peace and safety, no more dying, and share with us the blessed hope and the grace of God in him. It's wrong for us to say that, but it's not wrong. It's not wrong when atheists do things out of disrespect towards Christians. They say things knowing that we take God very seriously, and taking God very seriously doesn't make us try to walk upside down on the ceiling. But we do take God very seriously. You can't respect the fact that the kids have to have their candy, that the kids have to have their bright colors. You can't respect that the kids are more innocent than you are. They call Jesus the Lamb for a reason. And the last but not least thing is this. You fail to understand that you are just doing, I've said this over and over again, you are just doing what this world system is doing. You are just making it more easier. You are working in their favor. The very things that you really, really, really are bothered by, they're not Christians. They're the things that use Christians, that use the idea of the churches and that. A system, the systematic, ways of controlling people. And we get blamed for it as Christians. But every city is not Vatican City. This is America. This isn't Italy. There's no Vatican City here. Okay? And there's no Mecca here. Let what is be what is. But atheists can't do that. You say you're a Christian, then we need to fight. We need to argue. Call into the show and explain to us why you need to believe in fairy tales. I'm going to call into the show and explain to you why my feet, okay, might find her, never mind, I'm not going to say that, okay? But, I just think it's so nasty and disrespectful. What part of nasty and disrespectful don't you understand? You know good and well that the majority of Christians, of the Christian community, if we can call it that, do not line up with your argument. Even with their dumbest arguments, they don't line up with your argument, because your initial argument is, oh, you believe because. Explain because of what? You can't without being wrong. Or you believe because, and you think that and you think and you believe and you think and you believe. You're not a Christian, so how do you know? You're not walking in my shoes. You don't know what it's like to be black. You don't know what it's like to be white, if you're black. You don't know what it's like to be a Christian for most of your life. And then all of a sudden, one day, out of the clear blue, some knucklehead shows up and says, did you say God? There's no God. There's no evidence for that. When did this start? You got all these wicked people out here that believe in God. Wicked, evil people. And then the atheists come. And they don't believe in God. And their argument is, well, Christians are mean to gays. There's nothing wrong with loving someone. But then you want to tell me about subjective morality. And I'm not picking on gays when I say that. I'm using that as an example. Because there is no study where you have studied and proven what is moral and what is true. You have not went to the land of Israel and studied the books. You have not went and studied the propaganda that you are using for your arguments. You have not went behind them to see where they get their arguments from. But if you're really, really an atheist, and you're happy being an atheist, and all you want to do is be an atheist, which according to Matt Dillahunty's show, you have a job to do. This is my problem with you. You have a job to do, and that's find a way to get to me, because I'm a Christian. Your job is to find a way to get to me, to make me feel miserable and sorry for being a Christian. That's your job. Your job is not to not believe in God. You don't even think in terms like that. Your job is to punish me for being a Christian. And my pastor would probably tell me, D-Roy, that the only thing I ever said right was Christian persecution. But the atheists think that, oh, that's not Christian persecution, when they clearly did this all through the Bible. And they clearly did this throughout history. They're doing it in South Africa right now. So, okay, these guys have the guts to be a little bit more physical than the atheists do. Like atheists never put their hands on Christians before. I'm D-Roy Cruz, your life applications officer. If you're really, really, really that much of an atheist, that's fine. But just because you don't agree with something doesn't mean that you have to be so darn disrespectful and hateful. There's a lot of real criminals out there that deserve a kick in the behind. I think Christian is the more positive extreme of the negative extremes. Thank you for watching. I'm D. Roy Cruz, your Life Applications Officer. There's more to come. God bless you.